Hello everyone and welcome to Studio One. Today I'm Scott Seiler along with Kim Fisher, Jennifer Vandergaan, and Craig Trauman. Thanks for joining us today, and we have an exciting show coming up. We'll talk with President Kendall Baker on dealing with the University of North Dakota's budget problems, and also Patti Jean Hooper, and she'll look at certain lyrics and songs and how they affect women. Those guests later, and before we get to the rest of our show, Jennifer, what story is grabbing news headlines today?
There are more ceasefire violations in Bosnia.
And finally, good news in the weather, Craig.
Well, Kim, the sun is out, the snow is melting, and I think spring is finally here, and I'm a happy guy.
Yeah, I think everyone else is happy with your forecast. Thanks, Craig. Well, straight ahead on Studio One today, we'll talk with Patti Jean Hooper from UND's School of Communication. She'll help us read between the lines of certain songs and their effect on women.
And later in our second half hour, UND President Kendall Baker. As soon as he took the job, he had to make two major decisions. We'll ask him if he made the right ones.
We'll have more on the weather and sports in just a few minutes, but first, Jennifer Vandergaan with the top news stories at this hour. Jennifer?
Thanks, Scott. Russia has dropped its objection to a United Nations plan to build on the Sarajevo ceasefire. A draft resolution demands essential services be restored and asks for a final lifting of the Serbian siege of the Bosnian capital. It also asks the UN to extend its protection of the towns of Muglai, Mostar, and Vitez. As in Sarajevo, that would carry the threat of NATO airstrikes if the so-called safe havens were violated. Small arms fire was heard in Sarajevo near a downtown cemetery. Thursday, French peacekeepers fired some warning shots around that area to silence another ceasefire violation. Russian President Boris Yeltsin appealed for unity following last week's freeing of his political enemies. In a Kremlin address, Yeltsin denounced Parliament's amnesty for those who tried to overthrow him last October. Yeltsin vowed that from now on, Russia would resolve its problems peacefully. He also said it would be wrong to continue his economic reforms at any price and that he had limited room to maneuver on them. Two area artists were getting creative in the snow this week. The Grand Forks Park District hired two sculptors to make snow figures for Winter Thing, the annual kids festival in town. The artists say the snow piles usually dictate what the figure will become.
I just look how the pile looks like. Then I try to look at the shape from the pile, and then I said, okay, let me carve it that way, and then that's what's going to be.
The artists rarely sculpt snow. It was actually the first time either of them worked with the white stuff. However, they both hope to return next year to help the kids celebrate winter. The snow sculptures were new to Winter Thing this year, but will now be a tradition. 4-month-old babies are often shy, but now researchers will be able to tell if that will last. According to recent studies, they can tell whether infants are likely to remain shy or timid by measuring brain activity and skin temperature. They say these passive characteristics will stay with children, but are not locked in for life. Environmental factors also play a part in a child's development. The findings may help parents understand their child's shyness as a biological characteristic and help them work through the problem. There doesn't seem to be a day that goes by that we don't glance at our watch or ask someone for the time. But for one Grand Forks man, time has a much deeper meaning. Studio One reporter Lucy Sivka shows us how in just a few weeks, time will stop for one man.
Frank Phelps doesn't have any problem telling time. He has been working as a watchmaker for almost 40 years.
This jewelry store is one of the oldest in the Grand Forks community. Phelps took the business over from his father and also took over his talent.
His father opened Phelps Jewelry in 1913. In that same shop today, Frank is surrounded by the soothing sound of tick-tocking.
Yeah, I always liked it. Even when I was, real young, I used, loved, going on to the store and taking parts, clocks apart and stuff like that, and tinkering with stuff. And, always enjoyed doing this type of work.
Frank finds time to work on other things as well. He also repairs larger clocks and jewelry.
Yes, I'm real.
His passion, though, is for antique watches. He says the watches of today are less mechanical and less interesting. Frank got his certification in 1960, making him a licensed watchmaker. Today, watchmakers don't need certification to do repairs, making Frank the only certified watchmaker in Grand Forks. The time is almost up, though, before Frank will close his doors for the last time. Frank says the small number of watches he fixes isn't enough to keep his business open. But Frank won't be saying goodbye to the watch repair business forever.
If nothing else, I'd be fixing my own watch half a dozen times. I like to work. I've been at it long enough and I think I know what I'm doing.
With photographer Mike Garrison, I'm Lucy Sivka for Studio One News.
Frank says he'll be closing down his business in a month, but he plans to do some trade work in his own home. You know, he's spent most of his life doing this. It's going to be a big lifestyle change for him.
Well, after all those years, I think he deserves a vacation. Thanks, Jennifer. Well, we definitely can't complain about the great weather we've been having lately. Craig, will it continue?
Well, Kim, it looks like it will. Things may cool off a bit, but overall, we're going to see some real nice temperatures. Well, currently in Grand Forks, we have a clear sky, a temperature of 32 degrees. The winds are out of the north-northwest at 12 miles an hour, and our pressure is rising. Well, around the region this morning, things are beautiful. In fact, temperatures in the 30s, where it's 30 in International Falls, 35 in the Twin Cities, 30 in Fargo, and 31 in Bismarck. Well, on the national scene, we're seeing high pressure is the word today, where this warm front is mixing with it, and that's bringing the nice temperatures that we've been experiencing. However, out to the east, a different story, where a low pressure system is building and causing a lot of snow and heavy winds in the New England states. Well, that snow is going to continue to build and cause some problems for those people today, as they may see record amounts of snowfall in that area. However, the rest of the nation is going to be relatively clear and nice. There's a chance for some precipitation up in the northwestern part of the United States. Looking ahead into the weekend, well, that pressure system is going to continue to push its way north, and that's going to clear out most of the New England area. There's a chance that we're going to see some stronger winds and maybe a small chance of some precipitation, but nothing to get excited about. As we take a look at some temperatures today, well, it's going to be nice. In fact, we're going to see temperatures in 40s and 50s across most of our area. The rest of the nation, 60s and 70 degrees. For tonight, things are going to stay nice. In fact, we'll see temperatures in the upper 20s, some 30s and 40s and 50s across the Midwest and the South. Well, for the rest of the day today, we're going to see a mostly sunny sky, a temperature right around 40 degrees, and the winds are going to be out of the west at 10 to 15 miles an hour. For tonight, things are going to cloud up a bit, but that's going to keep the warm air in. We should see a temperature in the high 20s. The wind should be light and variable. Looking ahead into the weekend, well, temperatures are going to stay nice for most of the weekends. In fact, temperatures in the 40s and 30s. Things are going to stay mild, get a bit cooler, but by the middle of next week, things will be back in the 30s and 40s. So, Scott and Kim, I think spring is finally here.
Thanks, Craig. Well, good news. Spring is almost here. And now that the Olympics are over, what's the big news in sports?
Well, it's Michael Jordan, and he's trying to make baseball his game now. Well, in sports, we do have news about Michael Jordan today, and we'll show you him practicing on the baseball field. But now that the Olympics in Lillehammer, Norway are finished, we'll start with some highlights from the NBA. The New Jersey Nets have beaten the Knicks in all 3 meetings this season, and for a while it looked like things were going to go New Jersey's way. Chris Morris from half court at the end of the third, much to Patrick Ewing's surprise. But Ewing and New York got the last laugh. He had 49 points, 16 boards, 5 blocks, and a 97-86 win for the New York. The Boston Bruins beat the Los Angeles Kings 6-4 at Boston. Gretzky did not score, so he remains 3 goals behind Gordie Howe on the all-time list. Cam Neely with his 47th for Boston. And an update now on Michael Jordan as he faces Major League pitching in game condition for the first time at an inter-squad game. He struck out twice and dropped a routine fly. Those are the highlights. Local sports still ahead on Studio One, but now your first look at the rest of the overnight scores. This weekend, the UND wrestling team is sending 5 athletes to the NCAA tournament in southern Colorado. The Sioux have been ranked in the top 10 all season. The 5 wrestlers going to the tournament improve over last year when the team sent 4 players. UND has a solid team this year with wrestlers like Lynn McChesney, who has been ranked #1 in the nation all season long. McChesney says the team's continued success has a lot to do with first-year head coach Jeff Schumacher.
We got things done, you know, as far as practice and stuff, but it was a little bit mellower. It wasn't as intense as it was last year under our older coach.
The team is hoping to top their 4th place finish last year at the national tournament. The closest the team has come to a national title was in 1990 when UND placed 3rd. So maybe this would be their year they'll place first.
We wish them well.
Okay. Well, we still have much more for you today on Studio One. First, we'll talk with Patti Jean Hooper from the School of Communication. She'll examine how certain lyrics to songs affect women, and it's not just today's music.
But now a look at some of the events happening around your area this week. Stay with us as Studio One continues.
Insurance. Unfortunately, it costs. Fortunately, it pays. Voller Insurance. Grand Forks, Devils Lake, Bismarck.
I really recommend the Community National Bank because I think that they know how to take care of people, whether it's for business or personal. I want a relationship with a bank that understands my needs, and Community National fulfills that relationship. They're good, they're friendly, they're conscientious. They take the time to learn about your business, and they're willing to go that extra mile to help us when we need help.
And pick your insurance company? As your agent and broker, that's our exact job. We think we do it well, and have been since 1947. Voller Insurance. Grand Forks, Devils Lake, Bismarck.
Music is often a part of our everyday lives, and it's now raising a lot of controversy. The lyrics of songs from country music all the way to rock and roll and rap hold meanings which could have an impact on how we treat ourselves and others. School of Communication instructor Patti Hooper joins us today to discuss the messages being sent through lyrics, especially to those sent to women.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us today, Patti.
Certainly.
How did you get started with this in the first place?
Well, my brothers and sisters were 13 and 11 years older than I was, and so the music I listened to was primarily what they wanted. And so I was pretty much into the 50s and 60s music for a long time before I went into popular music, so that's kind of been my area of interest.
Well, let's take a look at some examples right away of how they affect women. The first song is It's My Party.
Well, this is where Judy and Johnny just walk through the door like a queen with her king. Oh, what a birthday surprise, Judy's wearing his ring. This song really deals with a party that a woman is throwing, and it's her birthday, and she sees her boyfriend come into the room and leave with another woman, and when they return she's wearing his ring, and so she does the "It's my party, I'll cry if I want to." And this whole music is about, you know, the next song that comes in says, well, now I'll take Johnny back, and I love him still, and it doesn't matter that he went away, but now that he's come back, I'm going to take him back because that's what I live for, this relationship with Johnny. Rather than, you know, Johnny's kind of a dork for running off with another woman at your party, and she's not mad at him. She's really upset at the idea that he would leave in the first place.
So do you think this is a true example of life, or has it been exaggerated by the person?
Well, I'm not sure that doesn't happen, but the whole point of it is one would assume that if a woman writes the lyrics that she is necessarily giving a woman's point of view, or a strong point of view, or even a feminist point of view, and that's not really the fact. As early as the 50s with this music and up to today's music, often women are recording men's lyrics, or women are writing lyrics for a male audience rather than their own message. And so what comes back is not necessarily a female view, but simply a female voice singing the status quo.
Let's look at our next example of the song that we have, and it's Bobby's Girl.
Ah, my particular favorite. She wants to be Bobby's girl, Bobby's girl. That's the most important thing to me, because if I was Bobby's girl, what a grateful, thankful girl I'd be. And whenever I sing this to my class, when I talk about these lyrics, they always look at me because I get all excited about this one, because this woman is literally singing. That's the only thing she wants. She doesn't talk about a job or a family or pets or a hobby or anything. The only thing she wants is this focus in her life is this man, and that's pretty much reflected. Look at magazines, 17 magazine, how to snag that boy that you want, and it's that message that the most important fulfillment is to be labeled as, you know, I'm Scott's girl, and you know, you get excited about that idea that I have an identity, I have a label, and it's kind of an odd message to send.
So do you think too much emphasis is sent on messages of trying to find relationships in today's society?
Well, I think that's what most music is about. from the very beginning of time. You write the love song, and that's the most popular genre of music. No matter what form it's in, there's always a love message there. And often we portray that that is the only thing in a life that we should strive for, rather than one of many things that make a life fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. How has it changed from like the 60s, the songs that were written back then, compared to now in the 90s? Has there been a decrease or an increase?
It's interesting because in any period of time you have a different voice coming through. Ronnie and the Ronettes saying about that music, "Will you still love me tomorrow?" Indicating clearly she might be, intimate with this man and she's questioning the relationship, the old "will you respect me?" So there was some of that strong message even in the 50s, not as much. Even now, a recent edition of Newsweek covered all of the rap groups, the girl rap groups, the women rap groups, and they looked, and a lot of the women will say, well, we have men write the song from the demographics of the group that we want to purchase the song. So you still see that marketing and making money might be a priority other than sending a clear message about your attitudes or values or beliefs in the music.
How does your class react to this? Do they agree with what you're telling them, or do they see examples also? Or?
Well, I have them do artifact analysis, choosing a record or a piece of music, and they bring it in. And when I do this, I'm always up there doing the 50s and 60s songs, and they kind of look at me and they giggle. So we do this music, and then I say, now you bring me an example. So they go home and they look through their CD collection, and they say, I'm sure I have nothing like this. And I have one young woman come in, and she said, I was so disappointed. I looked at some of the music that I grew up with, 7th and 8th grade, when I was really starting to get into it, and I'd buy my own music, and I saw Sheena Easton, and she did the morning train song. I get up in the morning, I go to work, but I come home because that's where my guy is. And she goes, I'm so bummed because I really like that song. And you kind of giggle at it and go, yeah, sometimes you don't listen to the message. Mm-hmm. You just listen to the music and to the beat. It's got a good beat and it's easy to dance to, rather than paying attention to what they're actually saying in the lyrics.
Great. Patti Jean, thank you. People will be listening more than just the beat of the songs after today.
All right, good. Thanks. You're welcome.
Well, still to come on Studio One. Get ready to start tapping your toes. The a cappella group JQ and the Bandits will dazzle you with their doo-wop sounds of the 50s and 60s, Patti Jean. But first, creating art without a canvas, without paints, or without a Sistine Chapel. We'll show you an art form that is literally exploding.
Great food can come from anywhere, as long as the shredded natural cheese comes from Sargento of Wisconsin.
Oh, hey, what's going on? Shh, Smokey's coming.
What are you guys up to?
Oh.
Be careful with matches and campfires. Remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
Sorry, force of habit.
Bummer.
Newman Outdoor Advertising, a site for more eyes. Outdoor advertising, it's bigger than life. It gives you flexibility. Use it as a constant reminder. Use it to advertise your message or product. Outdoor advertising, it's big, it's bold. Get your message across. Outdoor advertising, it works.
Explosives are normally used for destroying objects instead of creating them, and you would never think of using explosives to create art. But that's exactly what one New Mexico artist is doing. Studio One's Dana Olson shows us how imagination and science can be packed into a controlled explosion.
Explosives are often thought to be only destructive. The plastic explosives being prepared here are not for destruction, but creation. Israeli military scientist Gideoni Savan applies his expertise in blowing things up for art.
The Israeli scientists found that what you need in order to do something really fine with art, even if it's done by explosives, is you need to have an artist involved.
Savan recruited Evelyn Rosenberg.
Idea, but I went with him down to Socorro.
Evelyn begins by chiseling a plaster mold. She then adds objects that are carefully arranged. A plain sheet of metal will be sandwiched between the plaster templates and the plastic explosives. Today, she's putting the finishing touches on artwork, which will be immortalized in her latest blast. Jimmy Oxley of New Mexico Tech describes how the explosion creates art.
There's many cases where metals don't bond normally under typical welding. And with an explosive shock, you get a jetting of the metal that actually cleans the surface so that these metals could now adhere.
The next step is the actual explosion. Rosenberg says important steps are taken toward safety.
Being an even detonation over the whole surface, and so actually it's a very controlled blast. There are very few accidents. I know pretty much what I'm going to get.
Detonation changes the explosive's chemicals from peaceful solids into gases that need more room, violently pushing the metal sheet into the template. The template's image imprints the millisecond before it disintegrates. Back in the studio, dust from the plaster must be scrubbed off. Rosenberg enhances the resulting image by using chemicals instead of paints.
I use those rather than paint because they're permanent. They'll never wear off or anything. They chemically change the metal.
But Rosenberg's techniques are not set in stone. Experimentation is what makes her art, and the science that drives it, a blast. Fire extinguishers are the best protection against fire in airplanes, cold Alaskan oil facilities, and near life support equipment. But they're destroying our protection from cancer-causing ultraviolet radiation. So U.S. production of halons, shown here putting out a mock airplane engine fire in a fraction of a second, is outlawed by international agreement as of January 1st, 1994.
Releasing 1 pound of halon can be as deadly the ozone layer is releasing, say, up to 16 pounds of a CFC refrigerant.
Halon's efficiency is largely due to its ability to trap certain molecules to keep a fire burning, something water, foam, and first-generation halon replacements cannot. Chemists are now discovering a new family of chemicals through laboratory tests.
It's the first family of chemicals that's ever been found that have low global environmental impacts, at the same time are as efficient as the existing halons.
Any halon replacements must also prove non-toxic and affordable. The hope now is the perfect substitute will be found before the current halide supply is extinguished. Dana Olson, Studio One.
We'll be back with more on Studio One, including why you should get out your poodle skirt and grease back your hair. JQ and the Bandits are next with their a cappella sounds from the 50s and 60s.
Drunk driving doesn't just kill drunk drivers. Next time your friend insists on driving drunk, do whatever it takes to stop him.
Hey, were you guys born in a house? Yeah. What have we got to graze on? Nothing. Please? Now, don't be making those big cow eyes at... okay.
It is okay if you give them the good stuff. Mootown Snackers, cheese and sticks, or cheese and pretzels. The deliciously dippable snacks.
Animals.
From Mootown Snackers.
Your
approach is looking good, Cobra.
The men and women in the National Guard and Reserve face some tough challenges when they serve. Challenges that teach them discipline, leadership, and technical skills that make them better employees. So when they need time off to serve, don't make their toughest challenge approaching you.
The old saying of eventually everything comes back in style may be true for our next story. The doo-wop sounds of the a cappella group JQ and the Bandits can make everyone start tapping their toes.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go!
If enthusiasm and energy could be bottled and sold, JQ and the Bandits would be rich. However, they have wealth of another kind, talented voices. The four-member a cappella group dress in a casual mode with matching jeans, tennis shoes, and big, big smiles.
Pretty, pretty, pretty little angel eyes.
Hey, angel eyes, you are so pretty to me. And when you're in my arms, you feel so heavenly.
The Bandits performed at Grand Forks for the Cream of Wheat 100th Centennial Celebration. Lead singer Jim Fontaine says the doo-wop sounds and lyrics always seem to excite people.
About the performance style, well, we try to stay true to a cappella doo-wop roots, to that street corner around the barrel of fire kind of singing. So we do that, and we still sing on the streets to maintain that energy.
And with songs like Pretty Little Angel Eyes, the Bandits try to involve the audience as much as possible.
You fill my life with your wonderful love. I know we'll be happy for eternity. And I know, that our love is really little angel eyes.
The roots are in 50s and 60s kind of doo-wop, but we do a lot of contemporary stuff, and we do a lot of stuff from all the eras, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and original stuff.
Who put the bump in the bump-a-bump-a-bump? Who put the ram in the ram-a-lam-a-ding-dong? Who put the bop in the bop-shabop-shabop? Who put the dip in the dip-dip-dip-dip?
The Bandits have been singing together for 8 years now. They've been in the Levi's 501 jeans commercial and even wrote the Levi's jingle for a national television spot. But it just didn't happen overnight. Chris May, who's the bass in the group and is often kidded on how much he resembles Barney Rubble, explains how it all began.
The group started at Rutgers University, and we were just acting students, and we would go back and forth from class to class and sing and stuff, and we entered a talent contest, and we won, and that spurred us on.
And when I say dip, you know I mean it. From the bottom of my boogity, 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 shoot. 1, 2.
Whoa, brother, mama, pajama rolled out of bed and ran to the police station. When the papa found out, he began to shout and he started the investigation. It's against the law.
The Bandits came together because they love singing, and they live for the excitement, like traveling to communities, visiting schools, and bringing smiles and laughter to everyone they see. But most of all, they never lose sight of their goals.
The goal really is just to stay true to what we do, and then it kind of takes care of itself as long as we continue to have a great time doing what we do, which we do, and keep abreast of whatever new music there is, with an eye towards keeping ourselves in touch with our roots. We're pretty well set and self-contained.
Love good, gimme, gimme, gimme good love. Woo! Gimme, gimme good love and good love. Gimme, gimme, gimme good love. Good love. Gimme, gimme good love and he said, yeah, 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 yeah. Good, yeah, 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 yeah. Good love. Oh, good love.
Thank you.
Well, this was their first appearance in North Dakota when they performed at UND's Cream of Wheat Centennial.
They sound great.
Yeah, they have a lot of energy. I don't know where they get it, but I wish they'd get me some. Well, coming up in our next half hour in Studio One, Bob Boyd will discuss the interactive video network that is linking classrooms, teachers, and students all across North Dakota.
Plus a look at why people are drawn to a wonderful place set in the foothills of the Rockies. A spectacular look at Colorado Springs. That story plus much more straight ahead in our next half hour on Studio One.
you're exposed to so many different ideas and projects. The engineering school here itself is set up so that the class size is reasonable and the professors are great.
Our equipment we use is up to date and very new and very accurate.
Part of the reason why I've gone into this program is because of the environmental aspects.
With about 12,000 students, UND is the largest university in the Dakotas, Montana, and western Minnesota. About 170 major fields provide education in careers that include engineering, law, medicine, aerospace, and business. Dedicated faculty, individual attention. Join us at the University of North Dakota.
Your first time as a Junior Achievement Elementary School volunteer can be a little scary. Can you get kids that young to think about their futures? Call us about volunteering, and you'll see. We'll supply you with training for this new program, and the kids will supply plenty of motivation.
Welcome back to the second half hour here in Studio One.
Well, this definitely is not the weekend to wash your car with all the melting snow going on.
Well, with all the puddles and stuff around, it may not be the best weekend to wash your car, but this is the perfect type of weather that we want for spring-like hours, where we have lots of snow, where it could be potential flooding. And if we keep the mild temperatures and relatively low melting amounts, we should be okay, I think.
So we go from shoveling snow to getting our ice picks out so the water just gets away from us.
Drains right out.
Okay, thanks, Craig. Well, just ahead on this final half hour, Studio One, UND's Dean of Continuing Education, Bob Boyd, will explain the exciting possibilities for the interactive video network here in North Dakota.
Also on this half hour, we'll talk with UND President Kendall Baker and the difficult challenges facing a fresh new president.
But before we talk with our guests, let's get to our news update from Jennifer Vandergam. Jennifer?
Thanks, Scott. The Swiss government has refused to freeze bank accounts allegedly belonging to a CIA official accused of spying for Russia. U.S. officials claim Aldrich and Rosario Ames received around $2 million for providing Russia with secret information. Switzerland says it can't cooperate with the investigation because spying is not covered by its legal assistance treaty with the United States. Everything's on schedule for the launch of the Space Shuttle Columbia. The 5-member crew will perform dozens of research experiments during the 2-week mission. Thursday's launch was called off because of high winds. Police in Beaverton, Oregon report that figure skater Tanya Harding was assaulted in a city park late Thursday night. She was returning to her parked truck and was reportedly not seriously injured. The Olympic skater is still under investigation for her reported role in the attack on her rival Nancy Kerrigan. People wishing to have their blood glucose level tested can now have it tested for free. North Dakota State University pharmacy students are testing blood at 9 North Dakota sites. Testing is done in Grand Forks, Fargo, Minot, Devils Lake, Wahpeton, and Bismarck. Along with blood glucose level, free blood cholesterol and blood pressure tests are also available.
Study to see if we can screen out some possible problems with the general population, and then we usually refer them to their doctors if we find a value that's out of the normal range.
These tests will alert people who are at high risk for diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol. Testing is made possible by a grant from the NDSU College of Pharmacy. People who want more information on times and locations of testing can contact the NDSU College of Pharmacy. Help with your homework is just a phone call away. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade can call a toll-free homework helpline. The Rochester, Minnesota-based helpline is staffed by teachers and takes about 250 calls per night. The helpline has been operating for 4 years, and organizers say that it has taken over 88,000 calls from 6 states. They say 61% of the callers have questions about math. Most of the calls come from students in grades 5 through 8. The helpline operates Monday through Thursday from 4:30 to 9 p.m. 2 UND music professors have discovered a new teaching instrument. Studio One reporter Mike Garrison shows us how it is being used in music education.
300 years ago, the music of Bach was used as a teaching tool. Now with CD-ROM, history is repeating itself. CD-ROM technology holds the information found in books and adds sound and moving pictures. Dan Jacobson and Tim Kuzin of the UND Music Department have designed a program which helps students see music as never before. We often just hear music or see it as notes on a page, but with CD-ROM, we see and hear much more.
This will be maybe the first thing released that is really for music students and for people who really want to learn about music.
Tim and Dan's software features 12 pieces from the Middle Ages to the 20th century. It includes music and charts the sounds for beginners.
Most of the beginning users, first of all, are limited by their publisher. It's not that they aren't capable of doing what I'm talking about, but their publisher says you cannot add any higher level music analysis into these products.
For 2 years, they negotiated with various publishers till Norton Publishing recognized the need for this program on the CD-ROM market. Tim and Dan are happy they're able to share their talents in music through multimedia and that the industry knocked on their door. I'm Mike Garrison for Studio One News.
The software package will be available in August and formatted for Macintosh or IBM. The CD will cost around $25. A new on-campus emergency phone system has been operational since mid-January. You may have noticed the 6 emergency phones throughout campus. In an emergency situation, striking a large red button on the phone will activate a strobe light warning people of possible danger. At the same time, it will contact someone at the 24-hour plant services desk who will place a conference call to 911. Officials say that will soon be changed to make the phones more efficient.
Go directly to downtown to the PSAP because they are the ones that actually dispatch the police to the scene.
Lane adds that the phones may also be used for non-emergency calls. Local calls made on the phones are cut off after 3 minutes, allowing students enough time to call a tow truck or a friend if their car breaks down. And he says that they haven't had very much trouble with pranks on the phones so far, and they're hoping that that trend continues.
Well, how have the students been reacting to this?
Everyone is really happy about it, that I've talked to anyway, just because it shows that the university is concerned about student safety.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer. Well, every year, people from all across the country travel to a place set in the foothills of the Colorado Rockies. Colorado Springs is that place which relies on tourism year-round. And today, Studio One's Monty Cashel shows us how the mountain town captivates its visitors.
It was the breathtaking view atop Pikes Peak that inspired the words to the song, America the Beautiful. Natural beauty surrounds the city of Colorado Springs and the Pikes Peak region. Tourism alone employs around 13,000 people in Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs gives you the feeling of a mountain atmosphere, but yet it's got the conveniences of a city. It has a population of less than 300,000, and so there's a whole array of things to do, to shop, to dine.
The mountain city offers attractions of all types, including the U.S. Air Force Academy, whitewater rafting, downhill skiing, and enough wilderness to make any wannabe mountaineer happy. The school teacher who wrote America the Beautiful, Catherine Lee Bates, rode a prairie wagon to the top of Pikes Peak. Today, the wagons have been replaced by other means of transportation. This cog railway starts from the bottom of Pikes Peak, and it doesn't stop until it reaches the top. Paved and dirt trails have allowed sightseers the chance to get inside the scenery. Other inspiring things are happening in the city itself. One of the United States Olympic Training Centers operates year-round, training Olympic hopefuls for upcoming games. The training center is an old Army base turned into a modern sports training facility.
A lot of people think that just the year before the Olympics you have a training center or a training program, but it's just like anything else, it's a full-time job. You have to train day in and day out in order to keep getting better, assess yourself with competition. So that is the importance of this place being open 365 days a year.
American pride also runs deep at the Air Force Academy.
The Air Force Academy is the most popular man-made attraction in the state of Colorado, and about 1.4 million people a year come to visit that alone.
The 18,000-acre campus is home to over 4,000 cadets. They train in a 4-year program to become second lieutenants in the U.S. Air Force. One of the campus attractions is this spired cathedral, made of the wings of airplanes. The Garden of the Gods is a city park with million-year-old sandstone formations. The red rock spires are perfect for pictures and rock climbers.
I like it because it gets me out in nature, and I can enjoy the Garden of the Gods and a lot of other places that are just really pretty. And so I go out and climb a little and just watch a little.
Some of the other attractions in the area include the highest suspension bridge in the world, a 7-tier waterfall, the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame, ancient Aztec cliff dwellings, tours through natural caves, and even a chance to visit with Santa Claus. You are left with a feeling of awe after experiencing the Rockies. The massive mountains and their natural beauty make you realize there's more to life than the everyday grind. People keep on saying, Pikes Peak or bust.
Monty, you lived in Colorado Springs for a couple times. Besides the beauty of the place, which is truly spectacular, what else stands out in your mind about the area?
Well, there's a very strong military presence there. When I was there, I noticed that there's 1 of 5 people actually in Colorado Springs are employed by the military in some shape or form. There's Army posts and Army Air Force Base, and there's also the Air Force Academy. And there, I noticed especially the sports facilities there are top rate. They enforce, get into sports, and then you'll have a winning attitude, teamwork, dedication, that sort of thing. So I noticed that when I was there. The military presence was very strong.
A big thing. Well, you wrap up your series next week, and what's it going to be on?
Next week we're going to bring rock climbers, and that is, I tell you, it's a dangerous sport, but it's really exciting. Looking forward to that.
So do you miss Colorado Springs?
Oh, yeah.
We do too. Well, up next on Studio One, UND President Kendall Baker and what goes into cutting the university's budget. But before we get to that, we'll look into the Interactive Video Network and Bob Boyd. Kim will talk to him next on Studio One.
Community Bank means to me excellent service and good friends. I would really recommend Community Bank. I have sent several friends over to see Larry Morgan too. I think he's great. They can answer any question over there and they'll tell you right. I have had such excellent service there that I believe that you would be treated royally if you come in there too.
Dances with the waters, which brings the rain that feeds the land, that is home to the animals. All life dances together.
In a world so connected, choosing one environmental cause can be hard. EarthShare is 40 environmental charities working together. You and your company can help by calling 1-800-MY-SHARE.
All life lives, or doesn't, together.
When Kendall Baker officially took office as president of the University of North Dakota in 1992, he knew there would be some hard decisions lying ahead of him. And now with the state reducing the amount of money given to UND and other universities, the president is dealing with one of those challenges right now. President Baker joins us today to discuss restructuring the university now and what the future holds for the university. Thank you for joining us today, President
Pleasure,
Baker.
Scott.
Well, let's start off right away. $5.1 million is what you have to look at. 2.5 is going to be cut in the academic division and 2.6 million from student affairs, fine finance and operations. And in your speech, it seems most people were talking more about your use of a computer to get your point across than the actual budget cuts. How do you feel about being known as the technology president?
I don't mind that at all. In fact, I'm very comfortable with that kind of a description. I tried to focus the speech really on the future of the university rather than just simply focusing on our immediate requirements vis-a-vis the budget. And I think the future is going to be one that is going to be heavily influenced by technology, and that's the reason that I enjoyed being able to use the computer and talk about that in my talk.
Was it difficult getting used to it? Was it your first time using a computer in a speech like that?
Oh, no. I'm one of these people that's been carrying computers and various different varieties of computers now for probably, I don't know, 15 years. In fact, when I first came here back in July of 1992, they characterized me as kind of the computer jock president. And I didn't object to that then, and I certainly don't object to it now. It's part of the way I do business.
Okay. What part of restructuring a university involves more than just rearranging things? How about gains for the university, you know, with cuts that also, you says, not downsizing, but right-sizing?
Yeah, I think it's very important for us to keep in mind that in the kind of environment that we find ourselves in right now, there are going to be some areas where we have to make some investments, and we have to keep in mind that when we start reducing things, that does not simply mean that everyone is going to lose or that every aspect of the university is going to have some difficulty. I mean, there are going to be gains in all of this process. There are going to be investments that we have to make, and those are going to enhance the quality of what we do at the university and enable us to continue to build on the very strong foundation that we have.
Mm-hmm. Not just UND, but other universities across the state and for that matter across America. Have they been run as a business would in private practice, or have they been a bit sloppy?
Well, I don't think that I would describe the way in which universities operate as sloppy, but certainly I would agree that universities have for a long time operated differently than businesses have, and I think that will continue to be the case, okay? I mean, we don't have the same kind of a bottom line that businesses do, particularly that's true of public institutions, plus which we have a different kind of responsibility. We're trying to educate students so that they can contribute throughout their lives, and we're in the business of trying to provide broad horizons for individuals, and it's a little different kind of focus than something that is just simply product oriented.
Mm-hmm. Now you formed the University Planning Council. What do you hope to gain from that?
Well, I think that's a very important part of our process of thinking about and looking towards our future. Most institutions, and ours is no exception, periodically take a look at what they are doing, and as a consequence sort of ad hoc planning committees are established by presidents, and those committees go out and look at trends and analyze data and analyze various different kinds of opportunities and alternatives, and then they file a report, and then that report presumably is going to be used to guide the direction of the institution in the future. But most of the time those committees are created, they're ad hoc committees, they write a report and then they go out of existence. What I'm trying to do is to create kind of a permanent planning process at the university, and this committee will be a very important one in advising me about the kinds of things that we need to do at the institution so that I can then move those things through the normal governance process of the university.
Mm-hmm. Now the Education Chancellor, Douglas Tridway, of course, is resigning. What do you hope they look for in the next person who holds that position?
Oh, I think that the primary goal of the search committee is to try to bring someone in to the chancellorship in the state who is going to be able to continue the kinds of things that we have started and that are currently underway in the North Dakota University system. There are a lot of very exciting things that are happening. I mean, there are lots of changes that are going on. There's an awful lot more interaction and collaboration among and between the institutions. There's a lot of talk about different kinds of curricular opportunities. You're going to talk today with Bob Boyd and talk about the Ivan Network, which is really exciting and something that the state of North Dakota really is a very, very important national leader in. And we want to bring someone into the chancellor's position who's going to help us to continue those kinds of developments and to expand and develop in the future.
Mm-hmm. That sounds great. President Baker, thank you for joining us today on Studio One.
Thank you, Scott. I always enjoy it.
Great. Well, up next on Studio One, Kim's back, and we'll talk with Bob Boyd on North Dakota's Interactive Video Network, another solution for falling enrollment and budgets.
you guys born in a house?
Yeah. What have we got to graze on?
Nothing.
Please?
Now, don't be making those big cow eyes at okay.
It is okay if you give them the good stuff. Mootown Snackers, cheese and sticks, or cheese and pretzels. The deliciously dippable snacks.
Animals.
From Mootown Snackers.
So, whose influence are you under?
Newman Outdoor Advertising, a sight for more eyes. Outdoor advertising, it's bigger than life. It gives you flexibility. Use it as a constant reminder. Use it to advertise your message or product. Outdoor advertising, it's big, it's bold. Get your message across. Outdoor advertising, it works.
The University of North Dakota is just one of many institutions throughout the state that is taking part in a new form of education, one in which you learn from a distance. Dr. Robert Boyd is the Dean of UND's Continuing Education, and he joins us today to talk about the Interactive Video Network, or commonly called IVAN. Dr. Boyd, thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Kim.
First of all, why don't you just tell us what distance learning is all about?
Well, first of all, distance education itself, the term, implies that it's education, not purely entertainment. And then the distance means that there is a geographical distance between the learner and the teacher. And in North Dakota, we're fortunate that we have been able to provide educational experiences to students from some distance for quite some time. But it's only been in the last 3 or 4 years that we've had the wonderful capability of using interactive television. And that's really the new story.
Now, IVAN is a two-way interactive video network. What exactly is that?
It really means that the instructor and the student are able to see each other and able to hear each other. And that is wonderful. There are many systems which allow only one-way video and two-way audio. In other words, they'll be able to hear each other but not be able to see each other. The Interactive Video Network provides opportunity for both.
Now, UND takes part in the IVAN system, and we have some video today of a nursing class that takes part in it. If you could just explain what we're seeing here.
Surely. This is one of our 2 classrooms on campus. This one happens to be located in the north unit of the medical center. You're seeing a class of about 50 or 60 students here on campus, but then it is also available at other sites around the state. The faculty member is able to watch the other sites using monitors, and the system is very friendly in the sense that the microphones are voice activated, so as soon as a student speaks at one of the other sites, the camera automatically switches to that student, so the faculty member is able to see him or her.
Now, why is this so much better than the traditional classroom?
It's not necessarily better. It is a tool. It's a tool like a chalkboard and a piece of chalk or an overhead projector. But it's, of course, much more sophisticated. And secondly, it provides an opportunity for people at tremendous distances to be able to stay where they are, where their employment is, where their family is, and still be able to continue their education career, which is a tremendous advantage.
Now, as far as the teachers, do they have to make a big adaptation to their way of teaching for this?
Well, some of them do. Some of them initially are a little nervous about getting in front of the camera. But after a short period of time, the good teachers that we have in our regular classrooms end up being very fine teachers on IVAN. So it really is, it's a transition that mostly has to do with just getting comfortable with the surrounding.
What are some of the other sites in North Dakota that are using this system?
Well, first of all 11 campuses that are funded, publicly funded by the higher education system are linked in IVAN. And on those campuses, we also have multiple sites for most of them, more than one classroom. But then the Capitol building is also linked into the system, and Jamestown Hospital. Now, in addition to that, the new thing that's happening is there are several high school clusters that have built their own television networks, and those clusters are now requesting to hook in to the network. So that's one of the things that will be happening in the next 3 or 4 years.
And will this eventually be going across the United States?
Well, we really have almost that capability now because the University of North Dakota is very fortunate to have an uplink, a satellite uplink. And we soon are going to have the capability of having that also connected to the IVA network. And it's certainly going to be technically possible for an instructor in Dickinson, North Dakota to be able to offer a class in Morocco if he or she needs to and there's a need.
Well, Dr. Boyd, thank you very much for joining us
Well, you're
today.
more than welcome. Thank you for your interest.
Thank you. And we'll be right back on Studio One after this.
The right combination of protection, value, response, and service. That's our philosophy, and it has been since 1947. Voller Insurance, Grand Forks, Devils Lake, Bismarck.
Here's one time it doesn't matter who your neighbor is. Here's the other. Life's too short. Stop the hate.
In a life-threatening emergency, you should know what to do. Say a loved one exhibits unusual symptoms. The first thing to do is...
Clear!
No. The first thing to do...
Oh! Tourniquet!
No! The first thing you do is pick up the phone and dial your emergency number.
Call 911 first.
Right.
How about mouth-to-mouth?
I don't think so. To learn more about life-saving techniques, contact your Red Cross.
The insurance salesperson. They've never been the most popular people in town until you need them. Voller Insurance, Grand Forks, Devils Lake, Bismarck.
Well, next week, midterms for most of us. What about spring break plans after that?
I'm working.
Okay.
Well, I'm planning to visit some friends in the cities, and then I have a wedding the second weekend, so that'll be fun. I'm going to get a chance to see a lot of people I haven't seen for a while.
Well, I wish I was going somewhere like Mazatlan, but unfortunately, I am going to be staying right here.
Well, with the warm temperatures in North Dakota, you won't have to go to
That's right.
Mazatlan
I'll
for
enjoy
that.
it here.
Okay. Well, that's it for today's edition of Studio One. We'll leave you today with more of those breathtaking sights of Colorado Springs. I'm Scott Seiler, and for everyone here at Studio One, thanks so much for joining us. Have a great weekend, and see you next week for more Studio One.